everybody. Welcome. We have not recorded an update video in a while. John McGee actually texted me and reminded me that we hadn't done one. So here we are today getting back on track with our monthly updates from the Chiefs meeting. So this would be notes from our highlights from February meeting last month. And I have a few things highlighted here on my laptop that I'll be going through with everybody today. So first of all, just want to congratulate all of our firefighters that promoted to driver. We have our promotional ceremony scheduled and that information is out, but congratulations to everybody tested and promoted there. And then obviously it's a testing year, so I'm sure a lot of you are studying, and good luck on your tests as they approach. Some of the big updates that we have from February include administration right now is working with the city on our operating budget. So this is a process that starts towards the end of the previous year, and we're asking for certain things to be funded for FY25, which starts July 1. So we are in the very preliminary parts of that budget, so there's not really any updates there, but the theme for us this year with our asks was really to focus on the field and needs with staffing and things for the field operations. So we will update you once we know what we're approved to move forward with on the items that we're asking for this year. So by next month, should be able to let everybody know what we're asking for in the budget. We also just finished up capital outlay several weeks ago. We sponsored firefighter Padrati. Really stepped up. He was our AFR representative up in the session and did a great job. There were several other firefighters that volunteered on the committee to go up and work with the legislators to try to get funding for AFR. One of the biggest highlights in funding that we received was over $2 million to help renovate stations that have community bunk rooms to reduce the size so that people have privacy at the station. So all of the stations that were built back before we were, when we had the community bunk rooms, like Station 13, we asked for funding to modify the stations for that. So that was probably the biggest support that we got. There was some other smaller things that were funded, but that was really the heavy hitter that we had. Let's see. One of the talking points, I received a lot of questions about this because we've kind of gone back and forth with Medic 12 and the call types that they're taking. So anybody that knows that conversation, we wanted to do similar to what we're using Medic 3 for, which is taking lower acuity calls from both Engine 5 and Rescue 5 at Station 5 with Medic 12. And we were planning to roll that out towards the end of February, and then towards the end of January. And then we discovered there's some issues in dispatch that were going to make it difficult. And with the CAD projected to come online sometime in the spring, we decided it was better off to delay any changes to Medic 12 until we find out the capabilities of the new CAD once it's in place, and then we'll go from there, because we want to know the capabilities, and then we want to see how we can use our resources to best suit the needs of our stations and our crews. So we will have more information once the new CAD comes online, but for now, for Medic 12, we're just going to kind of keep things the same, and so there's just a pause on making any changes there. Medic 3 will stay the same. That's working. We're not going to make any changes there. We also want to highlight Brush 3. The crews on Brush 3 have been amazing. I think the reason the brush truck has been so effective is that we have 4 motivated crews taking those calls in the southeast corridor for the outside fires. And so we have said since the beginning that this would sunset sometime in April. We're looking at the data to determine if that will be the beginning of April or the end of April, and then we will go from there. We don't know what the outside fires will look like over the summer. Last year they slowed down to a more manageable level for frontline crews. So we'll just kind of wait and see what the data looks like and go from there. But we're looking for Brush 3 to be done sometime in April, and we will have that date out soon once we determine the official end date for that. And then the last talking point that I have is engines being requested to stand by on SWAT call-out. So we've been getting quite a few alerts, whether it be through the shift commanders, through battalion chiefs, just hearing about not only a rescue being called out to stand by on a SWAT call-out, but for the engines to be called out in case something catches on fire. We've explained to APD that we understand the chance that there might be a medical patient on a SWAT call-out and that the DOJ has that requirement for the rescue to stand by. However, there is no requirement for an engine to stand by in case something catches on fire. So in the event that an engine is requested out for that reason, not for a smoke investigation, not because something's actually on fire, but for if something might catch on fire, please let your battalion chief know. They are instructed to talk to the shift commanders. We are not sending engines in that capacity. So we want to make sure that we get that clarified so that we can get the engines back in-house on those. And so now I'm going to go into a couple of the talking points from our deputies. DC Romero, I believe everybody should know he's retiring at the end of April, so we look forward to working with him a few more months. And his talking points, one of the big ones is Chief Romero and Captain Govelinger and a whole crew, a committee in the Fire Marshal's office worked really hard on getting the 2021 International Fire Code adopted. So that went through City Council, it passed through City Council, and so it updates our fire ordinance. So thank you to everybody that worked on that committee to get that updated and in place. Chief Mellick had several talking points. Some of the highlights are now that we have our shift commanders, they are the point of contact for transfer requests, sick leave conversion, ensuring attendance of training, any FOC telestaff payroll issues. They also are ensuring that any of the documentation, if an AFR unit is in an MVA, is submitted timely and complete through the battalion chiefs. They are working with battalion chiefs on injuries and exposures, sick leave documentations, and things like that. So shift commanders are really there to kind of be the point of contact for all of that. And if you have any questions, you can talk to your battalion chief about that as well. And then Chief Mellick also talked about back on the issue with APD is the extended APD wait time. So we want to make sure that we are not waiting for upwards of an hour, over an hour for APD to get on scene. And so if you're on scene, you have an excessive wait time, and there's not like a cutoff for that. So it's really up to the discretion of the officer. We're not saying 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, but if crews are having an excessive wait with for APD, we have an arrangement with APD where they administratively they've agreed to send from another area command. We're still trying to get this to work, and so if you're on a long wait, inform the alarm room if you're experiencing that prolonged wait. The alarm room supervisor is supposed to walk over or be able to communicate with the APD dispatch supervisor to let them know that we have a crew having this extended wait time for APD to secure the scene, and the supervisor is supposed to work with the area command to get an APD unit from another area command. Now, that's just on regular routine calls where we are waiting for APD to secure a scene. If you are on a call where you're being threatened, where you're being threatened with a weapon, where you feel unsafe, we always will support you to back out of the scene if you can and call for APD from a safe location. Does not matter the acuity of the scene or the call. If you feel unsafe, we will always support you to back out and ask for APD to come. Now, that being said, if you cannot back out and get to a safe location and you're being threatened, we still have been informed that there's been some extended responses from law enforcement on these as well. So we expect the same procedure with dispatch to work in this case, but what we need you to do is call it in using the code 900, the emergency button on the radios. So please, if you feel threatened, we want the the code 900 to be activated through your radio. And then if we have a delay with APD, we are going to use the same method with their dispatchers to make sure that they get somebody going from another area command. In that instance, there's other things they can do on the APD side where they can leave a lower acuity call to get to a higher acuity call. But the most important thing is you communicating the severity of the emergency and the need for assistance to alarm, so that alarm can communicate that over to APD. If you have any issues with extended responses, please kick those up through your battalion chiefs to shift commanders so that we can QA them right away. It's something that we are staying on top of with them, and we don't want those delays to compromise the safety of our firefighters. A couple more updates with DC Marufo. We just actually came this morning from the Station 23 groundbreaking. So Station 23 is under construction on the Southwest Mesa. Very excited for that station to open up. We also have Station 12 that is in the design phase, and we're hoping to break ground in the fall of 2024 with a completion date in 2025 of Fire Station 12. And then we're also in the design phase for the Coronado Park Fire Station. So those are the three big projects coming out of there. I'm very excited to have stations and the ability to even add more apparatus, especially in the southeast with new Station 12 coming online. DC Anderson and DC Ferrando have put in quite a bit of work with CPSC to get our annual compliance report finished and submitted, so they got that done. Thank you to everybody that helped them with the final report. There was a lot of our personnel that helped get that submitted, and so we have that submitted and good to go for this year. And another update from DC Anderson is he's working with Captain Gray in the Public Affairs Office on expanding out our community risk reduction program. So there'll be more to come from them on that. Community risk reduction is done really by all firefighters, but we're really trying to centralize it under Captain Gray in that office. We've also made a few changes to that office. So Public Affairs and the Public Information Office, even though they're housed in the same office, they split. So Public Affairs reports to DC Anderson. The PIO in the org chart is a direct report to the chief, just like in most organizational structures. And so we have that split there, even though they all work together on a lot of projects. And then the other piece that we really wanted to use existing staffing for was to really focus on recruiting being its own entity. So we moved recruiting up to the training academy. We already had John McGee, who was our lieutenant, involved in recruiting. So we have John McGee doing that full-time in the EMS division, and then we have our driver vacancy. So Javier did a great job for us. He did go back out into the field, and so we have a vacancy now in the recruiting office, which is now coming out of the academy. We felt like recruiting is a direct link to the training academy, so housing everybody up here is a better fit for that program. So if you know of a driver that you think would be a great recruiter, that position is open, and we're taking letters of interest for that position. We did have the 102nd cadet class begin 3 weeks ago, and then we're currently in the 103rd cadet class for open enrollment for one more week. So please, if you know somebody that wants to be a firefighter, please encourage them to apply with us. And one of the questions that has come up quite a bit over the past 6 months to a year is the selection process. So I think over the years, there's been a lot of different strategies by different administrations for how we select cadets for our cadet program. So we try to be as fair and objective as possible, and what we do is we work with the training academy, and they put together a spreadsheet of all of the people that are testing and make it through all the benchmarks. So they come here with the CPAT. They have to take a written test, which a higher score on the written is going to bump you up higher on the spreadsheet. You get points for different different categories give you points on the spreadsheet. So the written, the oral interview that a lot of you participate in as interviewers, those are give you points. Coming into our department with an EMT basic license, with a paramedic license, with fire science background, if you've served as a firefighter before, if you have firefighter 1 and 2, military experience, all of these things that would be on a candidate's resume are things that are put together on a spreadsheet, and then there is the candidates are basically kind of ranked in order based on performance and what they come with on their resume. So from there. And actually, one of the other things that is important, because obviously fire services is family, and so it's also, there's no points awarded, but for family members of firefighters, but we do know that we have a lot of legacies that do try out for AFR. And so it's important to us to acknowledge that fire service is it's a family business, and we always want to make sure that we're at least opening the application, no matter where a legacy may fall in that spreadsheet, whether they are number 1 on the spreadsheet or they're number 200 on the spreadsheet, we always want to look at that application. So while there may not be points for that, we acknowledge the fact that we want to take a look at the application from the family member of a firefighter. So that being said, we go from there and then we make our selections. And there are no requirements by the city, by the state that mandate, if 5 women pass everything and are on the spreadsheet, that it doesn't matter if the female candidate is number 200, we have to hire her. So we really go off of those scores and off of all of the complete things in the application to make our selections. And we do sprinkle them throughout the entire one from the top to the bottom. So we might have a candidate that didn't score very well on the written exam, but then when we open up their application, we find out that they worked their way up in a company from being the janitor to being the manager, and they have very applicable experience that we think would bring value to the department. So it's very objective. We try to open up as many of the applications as we can. There is definitely points awarded for doing well and for having the different requirements that we need, like EMT basic. But that being said, we also are looking at applications throughout the whole 200. I think that there's different rumors based off of how AFR has done their hiring in the past, but we want to make sure that we're hiring the most qualified and motivated people to join our workforce. And you can only get so much from an application, but we feel like what we're doing with the spreadsheet really kind of tries to raise those quality people up to us as much as we possibly can with the limitations of a hiring process. If you ever have questions about the hiring process or concerns about it, that's something we really like to dispel myths about. So we really encourage you to send those up the chain to your battalion chiefs so that we can address those in the BC meeting or come and do a fire station visit, because we want to make sure that there's integrity in our hiring process and that people feel comfortable with how those selections are made. So if you still have questions or concerns after this kind of explanation of what we do, it could still be confusing. I just encourage you to ask those questions up the chain, and then we'll get somebody out from admin to your station to explain it a little bit better. Let's see. And with that, I think that's the highlights from the meeting in February. Our next Chiefs meeting for March is in a couple of weeks, so we'll get the updates out a little bit sooner for March. And if there's any questions or concerns prior to our Chiefs meeting, I encourage you to let your battalion chief know so they can get those up to us so we can address them at the Chiefs meeting. I just want to thank everybody for their hard work and your continued service to our community, and I will see you again next month. Thank you.